Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, today with something very different than usual. This is not super book related, but I appreciate you humoring me here. It's a little bit more on the personal side. I had a birthday recently. Happy birthday, me, yay. And I don't usually make a big deal out of my birthday. I don't usually advertise it or anything like that. But my I wanted to show you guys something. I want to show you what my amazing, beautiful, incredibly intelligent, and funny partner, Diana, got me for my birthday this year, because it's too good not to share. um, and but it's also it's something that is so incredibly niche and specific to me that requires such a specific subset of knowledge. It does require a little bit of background before I show it to you. So if you've frequently watched this channel, you already know I love Swamp Thing. He's my favorite character. Got the shirt. I got Swamp Thing Saturdays that I do. Obviously, you know, I am a huge fan of Swamp Thing. I am also a big fan of this TV show that aired in the late 90s, early 2000s, called Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. It was hosted by Jonathan Frakes. First season was James Brolin. But then Jonathan Frakes took over, and it was incredible. It ran for, I think, like 3 or 4 seasons. And the premise of Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, I'm pretty sure it made me the person I am today. It was such a weird, interesting, kind of spooky show where there'd be 5 stories in every hour-long episode, and those stories would be like, you know, reenactments, recreations that all usually had something like supernatural in nature about them. It's kinds of stories where people meet someone else, they help them out of a jam, and then it turns out like they're a ghost the whole time, like stuff like that, really cheesy stuff. And the premise of the show was that some of the stories were based on real events, and so they were fact, whereas the other ones in the episode were completely made up by the writers, and so were fiction. And the idea was you have 5 stories, and at the end of the episode, they would reveal which ones are based in fact and which ones were completely fiction. And they're hosted by Jonathan Frakes. He's like the horror host, he's like the crypt keeper, who would introduce the episodes and introduce the individual vignettes, and his vignettes were like categorized by these really silly descriptions and puns, and you've probably seen clips of them because it went viral not long ago. If you go on YouTube and you search like Jonathan Frakes interrogates you, you'll get a bunch of snippets of just the most, like, the silliest sentences of like questions that he would ask on the program, like, do you remember the tallest man that you've ever seen? You know, and every episode would end with him, you know, and after the story was told, he would, you know, make puns about what you just saw, about whether it's fact or not. Like just yesterday, I watched an episode where, no lie, he said, "What did you make of the story about the giant that turned out to be 3 acrobats stacked on top of each other?" Like, the most bizarre, stupid stuff in the world. So yeah, so that's Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. Now, I've told you about Swamp Thing, I've told you about Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. Now it's time to show you the actual present. Here it is. This is a commission that my partner got done for me by Madi Keen from Superhero Comics. I've done a video about Madi's books in the past on my channel. I did a separate video about his Steel Streets series and a bunch of his other works. I'm a big fan of his, and I've gotten commission stuff done from him before. So Diana reached out to him and commissioned this fake comic page about a Beyond Belief comic in which Swamp Thing is the host. And Swamp Thing's little monologue here is him speaking as though he were Jonathan Frakes about the origin of Swamp Thing. And The dialogue is, I know it's going to be hard to see, but we get the intro of Swamp Thing here walking into the room, and Swamp Thing says, "Have you ever seen the consciousness of an idealistic scientist fused with the green? Could a man, killed while synthesizing a top-secret chemical in his hidden lab in the marshlands, be reborn as a living embodiment of the power and terror in our environment? Or is this a tale of planted fiction?" So it's like it follows exactly like that silly way that Jonathan Frakes would, outro these stories in an episode of Beyond Belief. But Marty designed his own like masthead for it with the Beyond Belief logo. He got the font right and everything. He calls it Swampy Beginnings, and it's just awesome. This thing is so cool, and I lost my mind when I opened this. Diana actually took a sneaky video while I was opening it, which I'll insert here, where you can see my very genuine surprise and just absolutely hysterical reaction. This is incredible. This is incredible. And to make things even sweeter, Marty actually threw in a copy of his bootleg Spider-Man mini comic, which has been sold out for like a year. Like, this thing's impossible to get. It's one of the, I think it might be, it's one of the only things of his that I don't own. So now I own it. And this is really awesome. I actually almost missed this because in the way that it was packaged, it fell to the bottom of the envelope, and I pulled out the art on its own. And so I assumed that was it. So I went to throw out the envelope, and then I decided, like, let me break it down properly rather than just throw it in the garbage. And in breaking down the envelope, I saw this in there. I was like, oh my God, thank God I did not throw this away. This is a very hard book to get. So that sweetens the deal even more, but the art is really amazing. Thank you, Marty, for doing such an amazing job on that commission. I can't imagine what went through your head when you got that incredibly insane prompt from my very silly partner. And of course, thank you, Diana. I love you very much for just being so amazing. But yeah, thank you for humoring me with this video. We'll get back to book content very soon. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now it's time to get back to reading.